Hello, hello. So it is Sunday, August 6th, and it's time for a weekly wrap up. I read a lot this week. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books. Well, 10 books and one short story, and also 4 of these books were real small or children's books, but still, that's still a lot off the book wall and a lot towards my ridiculous Goodreads goal of 473 books. But first up, let's get started. The first book I finished up was No More Saturday Nights by Norma Klein. This is a young adult novel from the 90s or 80s. It's like somewhere between 1988 and 1990. Let me see. I think it's 1988. 1988. But this is about a young man who gets a girl pregnant, and it's a he's really casual about. Like he's not in love with her, and she wants to give the baby up for adoption, but he decides he's gonna fight for parental rights of this kid, and he ends up getting it. And it's about him, trying to figure out how to, go to college with a baby and everything. And it was surprisingly, I'm gonna say, I wasn't expecting a book from 1988 to be just so kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say progressive, but there was a gay character. There was a little lesbian in here, who outright said, like, yeah, no, I'm gay. And her parents didn't really like it all that much, but she was able to have a relatively happy life. And then the fact that Tim, who is our main character, is taking care of this baby and learning how to take care of his baby. It was very, character-wise, it was decent. This is, I would say, if something like this came out today, it would with some like cultural updates, just in terms of like technology and stuff like that. I think it would do well. Honestly, this is, in terms of older YA, this one is definitely worth something. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read a book that I won from Goodreads back in 2020. This is I Survived COVID-19 by Anthony Galeano, which is a nonfiction, I don't want to say story, like a nonfiction recount of this man who did not take COVID seriously, and then he almost died, and then he prayed to God, and it made it all better. So we got some weird things going on here, some little conflicting things. So it is both in the take COVID seriously camp and the just pray to God it'll make it all better camp, which is a weird gray area, I guess. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people were trying to capitalize on the pandemic when it was going on. It wasn't really all that well written either. It was definitely kind of man tries to write his first story kind of thing. 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han, which is the second sequel to To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I've read To All the Boys I've Loved Before 1 3/4 times. Technically, I think I still have it as marked as currently reading on Goodreads. It's somewhere in the book wall. But this is a sequel, and honestly, it was. These books are cute. I can tell why they got so popular, and I can tell why they got the whole Netflix movie series with the spin-off for Kitty. I haven't watched any of the Netflix movies yet. I did watch most of the spin-off though, just because I went to my parents' house to do laundry and my little sister was there watching it, so I just watched most of it. Anyway, these books, if you're somehow unaware, or if you are new, I guess these books were popular in like 2016. Follow this girl who's very shy, and she's been in love with her older sister's boyfriend for years. But then her older sister breaks up with said boyfriend when she goes off to college, and then her younger sister gets mad and sends out all these letters that our main character, Lara Jean, writes every time that she has a crush on somebody. She writes them a long love letter, and for some godforsaken reason, addresses it and then puts it in a box. And her younger sister's just like, I'm gonna be the funniest character ever, and sends them all out. And so obviously one of these boys is her older sister's ex-boyfriend, and so to distract ex-boyfriend from the fact that she's in love with him, and she's still in love with him, she starts a fake relationship with the most popular boy in school, who also got one of these letters, who is trying to make his ex-girlfriend jealous. And in the second book here, another letter recipient comes into play, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I think John Ambrose is better than Peter Kavinsky, and there's nothing you can say that will make me think differently. But this is definitely cute. It was fun. I enjoyed it, honestly. I do have the third book in the book wall somewhere, and I'm not looking forward to reading it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It's definitely, this woman knows how to write young adult romance. That's that. The next book I read was a comic that is Bluntman and Chronic by Kevin Smith. This is like just a dumb View Askew Universe tie-in. following Bluntman and Chronic, which this is, I believe this is supposed to be like the comic that, who Holden writes. Oh, come on. Yeah. This is McNeil. This is the comic that Holden McNeil writes in Chasing Amy, is what it's supposed to be, basically. It was dumb. It was funny. If you're a Kevin Smith fan, sure. If you're not, don't. I think I gave it, what, 4 out of 5 stars? Yeah. Next, I read In the Flesh by Clive Barker. This is a set of, they're not really short stories, they're more novellas. 4 novellas about just various things. Clive Barker is a fantastic horror author. I found that I like his short stories a lot more than his novel-length works. I enjoy his novel-length works too. The thing is, every time I read his short stories, I love them so much. Every time when I read his novels, it's like 50-50. These ones were kind of in the middle here. Like, so there are 4 of them here. I really enjoyed 3 out of 4. So In the Flesh was the first one. It was a prison situation, really fun, really Clive Barker-y. The second one was The Forbidden, which is what Candyman is based off of, and it was gorgeous. Oh my god. Like, this man, if we're talking about monster fuckers, this man pioneered the fucking genre. Oh my god, The Forbidden was great. The Madonna I also really liked. It had some weird stuff going on. I'm not quite sure what was going on here, but it was like, it did stuff. It had something going on there. And I could enjoy that. I could really enjoy that. Babel's Children was fine. I mean, it wasn't bad. Barker's a great writer, so like even his like fine stuff is still really, really good. But it was by far my least favorite. My favorite probably was the Madonna, I'm not gonna lie. In the Flesh had a lot of the really typical elements to it that I generally like it ticked a lot of boxes, but the Madonna was just like, it was just so weird. I was like, okay. So probably the Madonna, The Forbidden, In the Flesh, and then for sure Babel's Children at the bottom. But yeah, I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. Would have been a 5 if Babel's Children would have been better. All right, next I've got one with such a name. This one has such a name, and that is Band Fags by Frank Anthony Polito. This is a very clearly semi-autobiographical novel about this kid who is growing up in the 80s, and he plays in the band, which is unfortunate because everybody else calls them that all the time. He's also dealing with a lot of really weird sexuality stuff. Like his best friend is obviously gay, and he does not really want to accept that or anything about himself, which is so funny because he falls in love with every man he sees. And like, I know, I get that as like a 13-year-old, you do not want to accept that about yourself, especially when it's 1982 and people are dying of AIDS. But I'm like, my dude, like, there may be a connection here where you're not really all that excited about your girlfriend, but you're really excited about this man. Like, are we sure there's nothing going on here? It's so funny. Yeah, no, it was, the writing was like probably the worst part. It's very like very voicey and not in like a very good way. Like it's, the main character is just so over the top a lot of the times, a lot of his voicey stuff. But it was definitely interesting, and I believe, like I said, like this is very clearly at least semi-autobiographical for this man. I give it 3.75 out of 5 stars. If you can get past the fact that it has this straight on the cover, yeah, maybe give it a try. I think I bought it used, so it's like $4. Then I read a short story on my Kindle. This is actually a reread. It's The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I had to read this story like 4 times in college because it's, English professors love it, and it is fun. It's a good story. I mean, it's a great horror story. It's a good time. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. That's that. Next, I read another young adult contemporary. This one I really, really liked. Okay, it's Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I read Permanent Record last year or earlier. I think it was last year. And I liked it. I thought it was good, but it wasn't anything really special. This one I really, really liked. And I didn't really think I would, because starting it out, like the first couple chapters were real rough for me. Like it was like, okay, this is gonna be fine, but it's not gonna be anything really all that special. Basically what this book is about, it's about this girl who is going to college, and her roommate's uncle, sort of like step uncle, who is like 3 years older than her, is working at this coffee shop. And so she meets her roommate's step uncle, because obviously her roommate goes to this coffee shop, and then later she does see him kind of freaking out, and then they end up becoming just like kind of texting friends, emergency contacts, and then they text a lot. It was really cute. I really liked the characters. I really liked Sam. Sam was great. Yeah, it was a good time. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I believe this was her debut, and I understand why she got so popular, because I have not read Yolk. Yolk. Just ignore my Midwestern accent, because I that's how I say like an egg yolk. It's yolk. I'm sorry. Or any of her others. But based on between this and Permanent Record, this was much better. I gave it 5 out of 5. Then I reread a Goosebumps book, good childhood vibes, How I Got My Shrunken Head by R.L. Stine. This I remember was a childhood favorite. It is absolutely batshit insane. It's like, I remember, so every time I reread one of these, I go onto the web archive, to the Blogger Beware, which is so sad that I had to go to, I have the web archive like bookmarked, because they're so funny. And I just, and as he put it, it's like, this is I think the first time where this is like the most danger that a Goosebumps kid has been put into. There's both active guns being pointed at them, as well as being threatened with their heads being boiled. Like, what? It was a fun time. It was a fun time. This is basically, if you want to know, about this chubby kid who loves the jungle, and he doesn't even know why he loves the jungle. He just does. But then a scientist shows up at his front door and is like, "Your aunt wants you to come to the jungle," and he's like, "I gotta go to the jungle. I have the shrunken head now." And he has jungle magic. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read probably the best book of the year. No, not of the year. Not of the year. Of the week. But it's up there in terms of best books of the year. It might be in my top 10. We'll see. And that is Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Every time, because I've read a couple of this man's erotica shorts, and every single time I read one, I'm like, this man should not be this good of a writer for the stuff that he's writing. And I know that that's really like reductive and really mean to erotica writers, but I'm just saying, when I'm reading a 99-cent, or I think they're $2.99, I don't remember, because I just wait till I have credits. When I'm reading something on Kindle, I believe all the stuff's on Kindle Unlimited. When I read that stuff, I'm not expecting it to be good. Like, I'm not expecting Bisexually Satisfied by My Work-Life Balance to be a good, well-written story. I'm just not. I always am. And they are. Chuck Tingle is a good writer. And then I picked this up. I was very excited about it. I actually accidentally picked it up early because I was in Barnes & Noble and I saw it and I thought it was like, oh, this already came out, but it was 2 days early, so apologies. But this, it was so good. Oh my God. The descriptions, the horrors, the characters were great. If anything, I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish there was a little bit more. It's very short. It's like 250 pages long. I wish it was like 500 pages long. I just like long books, so maybe like 300. But yeah, no, I really loved it. I thought it was great. This book is about a young autistic girl in this very religious community in Montana. And one thing that this community has that kind of keeps the community afloat is this conversion camp, Camp Damascus, which supposedly has a 100% success rate. But now things are getting kind of weird. And every time that she looks at this girl that she thinks is super cool and pretty, but like she's just super jealous, obviously, she starts like vomiting up flies. And it's like, oh, that's weird. It was really good. And then they have to get to the bottom of this conversion camp and talking about faith and talking about religion and talking about all sorts of stuff there. And it 5 out of 5 stars. So good. And then the last book that I finished was another Goosebumps reread childhood situation. That is Say Cheese and Die. This is another classic. It's so great. This is the one where Ryan Gosling, a young Ryan Gosling, played the main character in the TV series. He was Greg. But yeah, these people are so dumb. These kids are idiots. It's great. But this is about this group of friends who go explore an abandoned house and they find a camera. But the problem is every time they take a picture with the camera, it pops out something that's like horror, like something went wrong. Like he takes a picture of his dad's new car. The picture comes out, the car totaled, and it's an evil camera. 5 out of 5 stars. Currently, I'm reading the one by John Mars. This is not well written. It's so poorly written, and I am in hell. So there's that. So these were the books I read this past week. That is all for today. I'll talk to you later, and goodbye.